Hello my treasures, it's time to play Frost DK the way it was originally meant to be, aka Freeze DK. This deck is centered around the fact that Frost Queen Sindragosa is only a Frost Rune card now, which this never made sense why she had a Blood Rune before, but now she does it, so we can run her in a deck that centers around freezing. Essentially, because everyone is playing a weapon-based deck, we are going to make full advantage of that. We're going to use a bunch of freeze cards, such as Howling Blast, in order to freeze our opponent's hero out of the game, or even just freeze out our opponent's board multiple times through Frostworm's Fury. Either way, you're going to basically win through doing a bunch of face damage through your spells, while also keeping your opponent from doing any damage to yourself. Now, for the Mulligan guide of the deck, you are going to be looking for early game removal tools such as Frost Strike, early game minions such as Hardcore Cultist, or draw power cards such as Chill Fallen Baron. Now, with that being said, let's look at some games. Okay, time for a game against Druid. I know I forgot the Mulligan for this, but nothing happened turn 1, so it's still a good game. At least I hope it will be. All right, they're going to pass it back. And I know Druid is the class that a lot of people are worried about right now. And this is honestly the class, or the reason why I made this deck in the first place, is because what's a better way to win out against Druid based around weapons than just freezing them completely out of the game? Because I'm assuming they're going to be a Miracle Ignis, buffing up their hero power as much as humanly possible by using Groovy Cat and such. I mean, the difference between this list and the Festival of Legends version is like 3 cards, that being one of them, and the other one being Ignis, right? And the deck keeps evolving. That's the funniest thing about it. Every time Blizzard is like, oh, we finally have done something to the deck that stopped it from being relevant. Druid community. Anyways, there's this other combo. There's Nourish, and then there's the Groovy Cat number 2. Other nice thing is, because we have so many... Ooh, Sindragosa actually is really nice in this matchup for 2 reasons. First reason is Druid doesn't really have that much AoE outside of Yogg. And the second reason is it's 2 freezes for free, right? Our hand actually looks really, really nice for when it comes to freezing our opponent out of the game. We're probably going to slam down our forward drop weapon next turn if I had to guess, and then hero power. Yeah. I really want to do something with that deck. The problem with Druid is because there's been so many different... There's Ignis. Because there's been so many different meta warping, wacky Druid deck combos, every time I sit down and try to figure out a combo that I really want to cover, also probably shouldn't have done it in this order, probably should have just... Oh, actually, no, we know they have Ignis on the board. Let's grab Horn, that freezes out 1 minion. The idea is if they have a 5-cost weapon, then they won't be able to slam it down and do a bunch of damage to us. But if they had a 10-cost weapon, then we might have just screwed ourselves a little bit. I'm assuming they probably want for the 10-cost weapon, the majority of the time do. And then we can freeze out 2 minions here. We could also hero power and get rid of the other minion if we really, really felt like it. Okay, there's Free Spirit, number 2. And then they're just going to go face, okay. I mean, we don't have that much heal. Like, the way this deck survives is the fact that you can just keep freezing your opponent's board and minions, right? That gets rid of both of them. And then we have 2 Frost Worms now instead of 1. And then we Howling Blast because next turn is turn 10, and I don't want to deal with a 10-drop weapon. Also, something worth mentioning, I think eventually I ended up including a Viper just in case our opponent does get a weapon down. Then we can just slam down the Viper to, like, extra hate on this deck, but you could also probably exchange Viper for like ETC, and then I don't know what else you put in ETC, to be honest, but Steam Cleaner for the Plague DK matchup, so then maybe... Oh, that is a really good question. What would be the 3rd card in ETC? I don't know. We'll see how it looks in the deck code once I finish recording this video. All right, they're going to just keep drawing through their entire deck. Oh, y'all could be bad. I'm okay. So them grabbing Sindragosa before we can do anything with. Now the Primus is funny, but is the Primus what we want to do? Because the idea is the Primus gets rid of Yogg, and then we just have Sindragosa to deal with, right? Oh, actually, we don't even have to do that. We can just put up a taunt wall. Actually, that's a much better play. Sickly is probably the best option. We don't really have... Well, we have a few undead minions in this deck, but... Yeah, there are definitely a few cards that we could maybe include instead of others. School Teacher is something that might be a little bit interesting over, I guess, Azure Drake. But I like the additional 1 damage on Howling Blast to everything. Right, so we protected our face. They got an additional copy of their weapon, probably just in case. We'll probably use the Frost Rune variant of the Primus next turn. We do. Oh no, this is. Oh, please tell me this isn't what I. Sometimes I make really big misplays, and sometimes people point them out, but I understand what I'm about to do on this turn. I'm assuming it's this turn. It's either this turn or the next turn, is a huge misplay. I don't need to be reminded of that fact. I know it is a misplay. Now, let's draw 2 cards. Heart of Winter and Icy Touch. Icy Touch their face so they can't attack. And then we slam down Ignis, even though I know it's a huge mistake. I passed sometimes. I thought we had already used one of the guides this game, but I don't know. It's this late into the game, I assume we would have probably used it. ENR is funny because they're going to refresh their mana crystals, but what can refreshing your mana crystals really do? Because... Ooh, they got their minions back. That's not going to matter too much. Because Yogg shall be unleashed and betray you. Get a taste of your own medicine. Heal us up to full. Eat the 5/5. Grab a blue weapon. Weapon, I guess. And then harvest to heal ourselves up to full. Give us a taunt. And now... I guess Mosh Pit, and then put down... Oh, let's freeze out their board. That way they don't buff up themselves and we can't freeze them out, so... I am really curious of what weapon they chose at this point. I'm assuming they're being very careful because they think we have a Viper, which actually isn't a bad idea for them, but they're going to draw the rest of their deck, and I think that marks the end of this game. We did give them the cold shoulder a little bit by keep freezing them out of the game. But look, if you're playing a Druid deck like that, you gotta get a taste of your own medicine. Okay, time for a game against Mage. Let's see what they have in store for us. Mage is actually a class that I cannot believe I'm saying this, but I have not covered on the channel since Titans has come out, at least in Standard Hearthstone. This opener, probably going to keep Chill Fallen and then get rid of everything here. Though I do think Monday will probably be... Oh, this looks even worse than what we had before. Okay, there's Amalgam of the Deep. Okay, Flame Geyser. That doesn't tell me too much information. It could be either Rainbow or it could be Elemental. If it's Elemental, that's a deck that I really wanted to cover on the channel at some point. But aggro decks usually just don't do that well on the channel, so I don't tend to do them that often. I also don't enjoy them just because I'm very bad at aggro. I am incredibly bad at it. If this was Druid, that card would have been so annoying to deal with. But since it's Mage, it does absolutely nothing. Hey, there's Lady Dark Whisperer, Death Whisperer. Mulligan her way, and she comes straight back to the hand. Though, we do have the Mosh Pit now, so she does actually have a little bit of a use, right? Not even just a little bit now. That's actually really nice. Oh! We have the chance to do something incredible this game. Let's hope it actually works out how I want it to work out. Because it definitely could work out pretty bad. I'm getting a real big suspicion that this isn't elemental, but just rainbow. And rainbow actually might be a really bad matchup for our deck, just because of the fact it relies on spells. As long as we... The thing is, if we can... how do we want to do this? I think we're going to put down Lady Dark... or Death Whisper. I keep getting her confused with Dark Vein. I know they're not the same character. I mean, they could. Dark Vein is part of Shadowlands in the afterlife, and Death Whisper is dead by the time Shadowlands does take place. So in theory, it could be the same character, but I don't think they are. But yeah, this matchup could be really, really bad depending on if we can freeze out an entire board or not. Because if we can freeze out an entire board, we basically lock them out of slamming down little Sif. Doesn't even matter. We have so much freezing damage. We also probably should have just went face there. That would have probably been better in the long run. Come on, put a few more minions down. You know you wanna. Well, I mean, two of her Death Whispers go unheard, I guess. All right, let's start a freezing. I'm going to be playing it a little bit safe here by giving it Reborn, mainly because if we give it Reborn, then in theory, if they get rid of it somehow, we still have a 5/1 on board, and it's most likely they won't be able to deal with the 1 HP also. They just won't have enough mana, right? That's the idea. And we use the original, so in theory, they don't know what card that we have additional copies of. They probably do. Like, there should be no doubt in their mind. Yes, please, fill up your board a little bit more, because that will help you out. All right, time for round 2. Holy mackerel. Isn't a card that I wanted to see. But it makes this game a little bit funnier, because we can Fury for a third time. They really did heal themselves almost up to full. Alright, so we have 10 damage on board, plus the other 5 in hand. So they're back down to 13, no, 12, because we have a Hero Power too. Now, we won't be able to use every Howling Blast next turn, but we should be able to use 3, which is 9 damage to face, as long as they don't have something like Ice, which that could easily be. We don't really have any information of what it is. They're just trying to get as much damage in as humanly possible here. One Howling Blast. 2 Howling Blasts is not counter spell either, so that's good. Then... so now the moment of truth. Is it Ice Block? And no, it is not. GG. Okay, time for a game against DK. DK is one of my favorite classes to face right now, just because there's such a wide variety of different stuff that you can face. It makes me actually really happy. Let's keep Remorseless Winter, getting rid of Icy Touch. The reason behind getting rid of Icy Touch is mainly due to the fact that I don't know for a fact that they're going to be a weapon-based deck. There's a high likelihood. 40 cards makes me think it's probably going to be Blood, so they probably are running Ignis, if I had to guess. It could also be Rainbow. Rainbow also sometimes runs 40. I know I had a Rainbow list that ran 40 cards, so it is entirely possible, right? Let's just pass it back to them. Let's Frost Strike the 2/3. Death Chiller is actually pretty good, but let's go for Cultist. Cultist is actually something that I ended up including in later versions of the list. I removed, I think, Hipster, just because Hipster was the 38th or 39th and 40th cards in the list, and I didn't really think about it too much because I forgot I wasn't running Cultist. Cultist is just a nice 3-drop AoE that we can easily use, and then we can combo it into Remorseless Winter. I think this was actually the game that made me want to start including a card. All right, let's forge that. And then we're probably going to just slam down Mosh Pit for later on. We could also Hero Power, but I think just slamming down Mosh Pit is probably better. Okay. The nice thing about this deck is there aren't that many minions that we really care about them hitting with a Patchwork. And the fact that they have been playing 2 Blood Runes, I'm assuming they're triple Blood Rune. Though we are drawing into all the minions that we would not want to see hit by a Patchwork. So we're probably going to shotgun Ignis next turn, even if we can't use the weapon yet. Going for a 10 cost weapon just for hopefully extra survivability, maybe some bigger minions. You never know. And then the following turn we'll use Sindragosa. We actually have really good curve right about now. Especially because we do have that Mosh Pit, and Sindragosa is a lot better if you have the Mosh Pit online. Go for the 10 cost weapon. Ooh, Poisonous could be good. 6 extra damage could be good in theory. But I think that additional survivability, just in case they put something down like Morgraine, and we're taking 3 damage a turn, healing for 8 a turn is probably better than doing... Speaking of Morgraine... Alright, so that's a 7/7, which, hey, we have the coin still, so it's time to get a little bit primal in here with the Primus. Buff this up, slam that down on the 7/7. Grabbing a Ripper, the 1-drop might have been better in the long run, but hopefully 2 damage doesn't come up. Knowing my luck, it probably will. Oh, Theatar could be really bad. Actually, maybe not, because we do have the Primus already on board. Maybe that won't actually be it. Oh, I mean, Nerubian is not the... I'm shocked that they chose Nerubian. We could either slam down Sindragosa, but I don't think that's worth it. I think what we should do is Runes, and then Death Chiller, slam down that, draw another card, and then we could freeze our opponent's face just to do some additional damage. That's going to do, what, 6 or 4 damage, and then 3 additional. We're actually getting them real low, which is actually kind of a shock. Ooh, their own Primus. Wait. This isn't going to work how they want it to work, because we have Reborn. So the Primus is just going to be able to eat their Primus. Thank you for the free 25 HP. Feeling really prime right about now. Grabbing Runes just because it's an additional spell to do additional damage. Let's grab the Staff of the Primus, since we already have the Primus on board, right? Might as well, right? We might actually... Let's draw a card. I was going to say we might use Frost Strike on the 2/2. We're going to refresh some Mana Crystals, see if we can grab any other direct damage, but we can't. So Frozen Over is actually pretty decent, just because it's going to burn them 2 cards. Hollowed Hound being burned is actually pretty good for us, just because it means they won't be able to heal. Body Bagger, I don't really care. Honestly, not bad. Oh, Soul Steal. I mean... Oh, well, we didn't have enough corpses to put the Reborn back on. And they probably would have instantly gave up if we could. Alright, so how do we want to do this? Let's put down Sindragosa. We're going to buff her up with a Reborn, just so we can maybe, in theory, have her on the board while we have Frostworm's Fury, going for the Cultists again, and just passing it back to them. And kind of was hoping to see another Sindragosa off of the Malgo, but it is what it is. Yeah, there's not much you can do about it. Though Corpse Explosion counters our Reborn tactic completely just because they have enough corpses. I'm actually kind of shocked that they didn't slam down their hero power first before doing that, because I don't think they had an Undead die here. Let's use the guide. Howling Blast is nice. For later on, at least. We can also just use it this turn to keep them frozen. Grabbing the other Remorseless Winter. Or yeah, Remorseless Winter. Fury, not Remorseless Winter. Then just going face. Down to 17. We have our weapon to do 2. We basically have 6 damage a turn, not including the freezes that we have available to us in our hand, because those are, what, 5 damage apiece? Now, that is a card that is extremely annoying to deal with in this deck, because freezes doesn't affect the end of turn effects of cards, so it can still attack. Probably not going to use Fury this turn. We'll use Winter, draw a card. We're going to misplay by Icy touching this minion, the Gnome Muncher, and then realize I made a huge mistake right there, and we could have just froze them out for another turn. But, I mean, hopefully it doesn't cost us the game. Hopefully 2 damage doesn't matter, right? Astalor. The most annoying thing about Astalor is it gives them additional HP. There's Hipster. It's still in this version. Now the question is, do we just freeze out using... Okay, Frost Strike is probably the best, just because it could give us another freeze. Let's just freeze their 1 minion. This is a little bit of a waste, but having a 5-drop on board is good. We can put more pressure if we keep it on the board. Them getting Prince Renethal from the Dirty Rat is really funny. To be fair, it didn't really matter which minion they got there. The fact that they're going to be healing up for 12 damage is annoying, though. I will say that. Come on. Give us another Sindragosa. That isn't Sindragosa. Probably going for the Whelp. I'm trying to remember actually what we have in the Whelp is the other problem. I think also what we may or may not do. Oh, okay, that's not actually that big or bad of a hit. Yeah, we'll attack with that, hit that. Howling Blast is great for later. And then we can freeze out Astalor again. Astalor is never going to be able to attack. That's the name of the game when it comes to this deck. We are just forcing our opponent to sit there and act pretty while we just keep beating their head in with a bunch of frost spells. Well, I mean, didn't hit anything we cared about. We knew it was coming eventually. Actually, I'm kind of shocked that we didn't get it earlier. I think we'll slam down this weapon. It freezes out both of their minions, and then just go face. Because this way... They finally have Ignis, but I am sorry to tell you that, my friend. It ain't going to do anything for you, because we're just going to freeze it out for another turn. Because that's 5. Oh no, the 2 damage actually did matter. If we had used that Icy Touch earlier, we would have been good. You feeling a little bit frosty there, my friend? You could say we made them chill out a little bit. Their blood is frozen over. I don't know what I'm doing. That ain't going to matter, my friend. Because, well, I mean, we could weapon, but I'm pretty sure our 2-drop spell automatically guarantees us Howling Blast. So, yeah, let's take that Howling Blast and blast them straight out of this game. Alright, now that we're through the games, let's discuss my final thoughts of the deck. So, this deck is exactly what I wanted to see out of Frost DK when it was initially revealed. It reminds me a lot of the free Shaman decks that we saw in the previous rotation, where you could keep freezing out your opponent, thus making them not be able to play the game completely. This deck really only works because of how the meta is currently in Standard Hearthstone right now, as it does rely on heavily the fact that you are going to either be freezing out your opponent's board or their face in order to prevent them from doing any damage. If the meta was a little bit different, then I don't think this deck would have done as well as it did in my initial testing, but it is where it is right now, so get the most out of this deck, and it's a lot of fun to do so. Like always, if you enjoyed the video, please like, comment, subscribe, and next time, bye.